Hey man, how are you?
Hey, Mr. Reynolds, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Good
Nice to meet you.
man. Is that an actual painting in the background or you
Yes,
have one
sir.
of
Yeah, I'm
those
a visual
backgrounds?
artist on the side. That's an original.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, the my wife's a fifth grade teacher, so I gave her the original. She's got it in her room with her kids. So yeah, yeah,
That's amazing. I
yeah.
love that.
Thank you, man. Where are you located?
I'm in Vietnam right now. I travel full time, so I'm in Asia at the moment.
I was listening to a book recently. It was a Dennis Lehane. It was a new book by him, and there were soldiers that were talking
Mhm.
about how beautiful Vietnam was before, the war and everything happened, and just all of that went on. And I just heard so much about how beautiful Vietnam is.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Like
Yeah.
I'm in this town by the beach and it's so relaxing. It's
Wow.
incredible.
That's crazy. It's crazy to think how steeped in the lore of American history Vietnam is and how peaceful they were and how it just turned into this place, that has hopefully restored itself to a very peaceful place again.
Yeah, it seems pretty like people seem pretty happy here. I didn't grow up in the US, so I don't know too much about American culture. Obviously, I've heard of the war,
Yeah.
but I don't know about it too much in depth. But yeah, people here seem very peaceful and relaxed, but in this weird way of they're very friendly in an aggressive way. So if you're like, "Hey, where's the coffee shop?" They'll be like, "Go there." And then they have like this huge smile on their face. But it's
That's cool.
aggressive and super nice at the same time. It was quite confusing at first.
Yeah, I bet so. Well, man, it's great to meet you. We'll peel back these layers as we talk, but I want to begin with today more specifically is kind of the 4-year anniversary of the beginning of the pandemic. How did you get through the
Mhm.
pandemic and how did it change you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And funny enough, I started my company during the pandemic, which was about using the social realm to heal and to connect with people. And all of my friends thought I was crazy. They're like, dude, you do understand we're not able to go out right now, right? What are you trying to do? And in my mind, I thought eventually the pandemic's going to be over and I have all this extra time. I can't meet my friends. I can't go out for a coffee. I can't even go to the gym. And I thought when this is over, people are going to be craving social connection even more. So that was what gave me the idea and the time freedom to build the company that I built and for us to even have this conversation today. So it was a complete blessing in disguise for me as much as I didn't like being locked down and having to stay at home for that time.
So let's get to the exact essence of what you do for a living right now. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day,
Mhm.
and one of the kids is curious and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Yeah, I basically help people, specifically men, build the relationships that they want with women. So if someone comes to me and they tell me, hey, I built this great life or I got a career, I got some cool hobbies, I got some friends, and now I feel like it's time for me to find the woman that I want to spend ideally the rest of my life with, that's what I help them with.
So let's before we peel back the layers of how you got to this point. What did you want to be in the
Mhm.
third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
So I wanted to discover teleportation actually
Oh, cool.
because I had a very long drive from my home to school and I thought, man, if I could save all these hours, imagine how much time I could save over spans of years. That was my dream.
So it talk to me about where you're from, where you were born and raised, and how a software engineer, became kind of this guru of matching people and helping people get to a better place in a relationship sense.
Yeah, I grew up in Turkey. I lived there until I was 18. And it's quite a separated culture when it comes to man and woman. So there's a lot of friendship, but there isn't as much romance mixed into the culture. So then I went to school at UCLA for computer science. And when I landed in the US, it was a very different culture. I didn't know how to navigate it. And during the time I was finishing up my computer science degree was also the time where I built the social skills to connect with people more, to start, approaching people that I wanted to speak to or have lunch with, but to also communicate my world more authentically. And eventually, a lot of my friends started recognizing my transformation from the outside and coming to me to ask for advice. So before I started my business, I was coaching for a different company around just overall social freedom, networking, business presentation, sales. And actually, during COVID, I thought I was going to work there full time. But when COVID happened, there was a big shift in their business and the big shift in my own goals. And that's what led me to start the company and eventually transition into coaching men to be more confident and authentic around women they're interested in.
So how did you get to this point where you felt comfortable enough to become a coach to help people get to the better relationship level? How did that become your passion?
Yeah, I think from the moment I started stepping outside of my comfort zone, I knew in a way this mess I was in, all this fear that I felt could also be the message I could promote at some point. The way I looked at social interactions was it was almost like a mirror for an opportunity for healing. Like I think especially as a man, if we can communicate our authentic selves around women we're attracted to, which for a lot of men could be situations where their biggest insecurities rise to the surface, and we can have that conversation more authentically, more honestly, in a more vulnerable way, then that provides for a deep opportunity for healing. So when I was in college, I would basically go into social situations that I was scared of. And when I first started, this started with like even saying, "Hey, how's it going?" to someone at a college party, just a random person. That was something I was really scared of. And then it built up to when I had to have lunch in breaks in between school. If someone was sitting by themselves, I'd go up to them and I'd say, "Hey, I see you're having lunch alone. Do you mind if I join you?" And then slowly I built it up to, if I thought a woman was attractive, to be able to go up to her and say, "Hey, I know, you're eating or you're doing something, but I thought you looked genuinely beautiful." And using that to get in touch with my own power to make someone's day, but to also show myself that the world wasn't as limited as how I believed it was in my head. That's how I got to expand my comfort zone. And then over time, people that I knew were able to see, like, how do you go up to this random person and have lunch with them and become friends with them? Or how are you able to speak to people in this way that's relatively grounded, but that's still authentic? And that's when I realized the fears I had starting, I felt so alone about, weren't just my fears. They were fears just the average person had, especially with the advancements of technology where people did want to date, but they were, even in the pandemic, a lot more hiding behind the apps to meet instead of genuinely speaking to people they're drawn to. So that's when I realized, okay, I think this is something I could help people with, but it wasn't necessarily a switch. It was an idea that I had in my mind, and I created a small program around and charged a very low price for. And then once people started going through it, and I saw firsthand, wow, this is really impactful to people. That's when I realized, okay, this could potentially be a business. So I never had the long-term goal of like, I'm going to start a coaching company. It's just something that evolved as people came to me for help. And I realized, okay, according to what I see from their results, these results can be replicated. And I think I have a place to help people here.
So who's been kind of a role model or a hero for you in your life?
Ooh, that's a hard question. The reason I find that question hard is I think we all have ways in which we are role models for others, and it's really hard to pick one person and go, this is the type of person I want to be.
Yeah.
So my philosophy has always been, look at people you admire in the area that you admire them and then take that area, but understand that no one's perfect and don't really idolize anyone because we all have imperfections, and that's why it's hard for me to pick one person to that question.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Let me ask you this. If you can meet one
Mhm.
person alive on the planet right now that you find fascinating, who would that be? Who would you love to meet and talk to?
Yeah, I think funny enough, I was just having a conversation on dinner with my friends about this. But more recently, the president of El Salvador, what he did to turn around the country is quite impressive, where he was able to take the country from one of the most dangerous countries in Latin America to now one of the safest countries in Latin America. And I think the level of conviction he had in terms of the things that he had to do and his ability to just follow that through fearlessly, or even not maybe fearlessly, but overcoming his fears, I find quite admirable.
So, what is the motivation for you every day to wake up, to do the work that you do to help people, but to also be mindful of yourself and evolve as a human?
Hmm. I'd say my motivation is two things. The first part is I get genuine joy out of becoming a better person. So to me, learning doesn't feel like a chore. It actually feels very fun to learn different modalities to help people in new ways. And the second thing is I know how my life was like when I was addicted to video games. I was 225 pounds. I was so scared in high school that I had a crush on this girl. And when she learned that I had a crush on her, I was so ashamed I couldn't even like go back to the same school bus that we shared. So I was in such a deep place of pain that when I see someone who has even 10% of that, my heart really goes out to them. I want to be able to build the skills and get the reach to go speak to that person and help them out.
So, of all of the clients that you've had, what's been one of your best success stories?
Yeah, one of the best success stories was someone who's actually one of my older clients. He was 53 when he came to me, and he had been through a very messy divorce where he lost a lot of his net worth, and he was almost considering giving up on dating. But at the same time, there was a sliver of hope for him to actually change his life. And he told me that he wanted to meet women at his own terms. So, we worked for quite some time, around a year or two. And throughout that time, we were able to first heal his relationship with his father. He had not spoken to his father for 2 years. And we did this exercise where he wrote a letter to his father, burned the letter, let go of that grief, and called him. And this was the first time in 2 years that he spoke to him, and first time in his life that he could have that conversation without holding resentment. Now, you may think, like, how's that even related to dating? What I find is a lot of the dating problems men have relate to the problems that they haven't faced in their inner world. So that was one of the key breakthroughs for him. And in addition to that, obviously, we built a system for him to meet women consistently, to socialize. And now he's in a relationship with, someone who's smart, someone who respects him, and someone who's there for him rather than what he has. And that's one of my favorite transformations, not because of the fact that, oh, he just got into a relationship, but because of how much I have seen him change internally.
So, when you look at your life and all the things that you've done and traveled and become and overcome, what are you the proudest of?
I think what I feel most proud about is the ability to take risks and trust myself. And I think that's something a lot of people kind of search for, to have that trust. And it was something that, like, if I had something I wanted to do, even when I was overweight and addicted to video games, I had conviction that I could change it. And it wasn't until I started coaching that I realized how few people had that level of conviction. So I'm very proud to have built that in myself, where if I know something needs to change, I'm going to take action fast to move in the direction that I want to move in.
So everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, but ultimately you're the one in control. What's your perception
Mm.
of you? Who do you think you are?
I think that we're not really what we think we are, and we project a lot of things into the world, and that affects how we see the world. So, especially after traveling, I think one of the things that I think I am is someone who is very flexible and who is very aware of the fact that if we put ourselves in a box, then we're going to project what we need to stay in that box. But the only constant in life that we really have is change. So if we can adapt to that change and we can actually accept it, we become more okay with that change. So the way I guess I'd describe myself is someone whose intention is to be okay with that change as much as he can so that he's not limited to just one perception and he's able to flow with what life brings to him.
Very well said. So if anyone wants to hire you, reach out, learn more about you and your services, how can they do that?
Yeah, it's very simple. Go on Instagram. My account is called Real Charming Man, and you can send me a message there. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And if you're curious about doing mentorship, we can talk about that as well.
Wonderful. This has been great, man. Thank you so much for taking time out today. What a great story of overcoming and resilience. I
Thank you.
appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Great speaking to you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Before